friend Bubba Bear. I am here with my special guest. You know him for directing Meet the Robinsons and co-directing Winnie the Pooh, Stephen John Anderson. Stephen, welcome in.
Hey, thanks, Ian. Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Well, I'm glad. It's always a pleasure to have such a wonderful person as yourself, Steve.
Thanks so much. I'm happy to be here, Ian. Thanks
Well,
for having me. Very
well,
cool to see you.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, one of the things that I want to tackle.
Recording in progress.
Sorry.
Oh, it's alright.
I'm going to record on my end as well.
Oh, nice. Um, well, I'm he. We've known you for working for 25 years in Disney. Can you tell us some about that?
Yeah, it was a dream of mine since I was a kid to A, get to make cartoons, B, get to make cartoons at Disney. So the fact that I was able to do both of those things was pretty exciting. I started at Disney in 1995. I was a story artist on Tarzan, so doing storyboards on that movie. And then eventually, let's see, I became story supervisor on Emperor's New Groove and Brother Bear, then director on Meet the Robinsons and Winnie the Pooh, like you said, and also on Monsters at Work, season one. And then I left the company in 2021 just to go explore some new adventures and try new things. So that's what I'm doing right now. But the fact that I got to be at Disney for 26 years and do all the things I was able to do and work with all the amazing people, such a dream come true to me. Really a joy.
Well, that's awesome, Steve, and I bet you that is just like a blessing to work as especially growing up with Disney. Just That's just a childhood dream for almost any animator, if you ask me, during that
Mhm.
time.
Yeah, absolutely. There's all kinds of great animation studios out there, but certainly Disney is like the place to be. That's a lot of people dream about going there. So I feel very fortunate.
Yeah. Yeah. And you were just telling me that you written a book. If you care to tell us about your book, like what's it about?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thanks for asking. The book is called Disney in Between: The Lost Years, 1966 to 1986. And it's about the Walt Disney Studios after Walt's death. So the 20-year period between Walt Disney's passing in 1966 to the new leadership of Michael Eisner and Jeffrey Katzenberg coming into the studio in the early to mid 80s and kind of rejuvenating the studio, expanding a lot of things, and really, making Disney like a big deal. Um, and the interesting thing to me, what to examine was this notion of a studio under Walt Disney that was so known for being just, fiercely creative, embracing of technology, and very forward thinking. But unfortunately, when Walt Disney passed, the studio kind of fell into some hard times. They didn't quite know how to move forward without Walt Disney. So the interesting thing is that they actually got stuck. They kind of froze, if you will, and didn't really know how to be a studio without Walt, and then also how to be a studio while the rest of Hollywood was changing. Like when Star Wars came out, Steven Spielberg's movies, all that stuff. Hollywood changed around Disney, so then Disney had to catch up to them and say, okay, we can be a player in this new Hollywood. So I always found it a really fascinating story. Ultimately, it's really about how fear is the enemy of creativity, and how the creativity at Disney suffered a bit because of that fear of how do we move forward without Walt Disney.
Exactly. And nobody expected Walt to die from cancer because he what I read in articles that he actually kept his smoking part of his life very private,
Yep.
and he even told people he didn't encourage people to nasty habits doing it, but it's just something that he picked up as a child that I watched Walt before Mickey.
Yeah, it was such a, it's a very different world we live in now where um, we understand the health effects of smoking and that kind of thing. Back then, it was such a part, like you said, it was such a part of life, everyday life, not just Walt Disney's life, but everybody. In fact, one of the people I interviewed, a man named Bernie Mattinson, who started at the Disney studio in 1953, so worked with Walt Disney. Um, he told me that when you would walk into the animation building on the Disney lot
Hmm.
and look down the main hallway, there was like smog in the hallway. There was just a layer of smoke up at the ceiling because of the amount of cigarettes, pipes, cigars, like everybody smoked. So
Jeez.
yeah. So obviously as times have changed, it might, maybe it's not as prominent as it was now, but it was certainly very common back then.
Yeah, it was like a fashion statement, or like how to basically like saying like how sophisticated you are just to
Hmm.
do that. But honestly, when I look at it now, I said, how in the heck did people thought that was a fashion statement?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Very
Well,
different now.
what was your favorite experience working for Disney, if you don't mind me asking?
Mm. Gosh, there's so many. I mean, ultimately, the people that I worked with make every project special. But certainly on a personal note, Meet the Robinsons was really special for me. Not only was it my first movie as a director, but I had a really personal connection to that story because I was adopted. Similar to the way Lewis, the boy in the movie, is looking to be adopted. Our stories were a little bit different because I was adopted when I was an infant. Um, and Lewis is, 12 or 13, and he's in an orphanage trying to get adopted. But he's asking these questions about his past. Who's my birth mother? Why did she give me up? Where did I come from? All those questions. And I'd asked those same questions since I was a kid. My parents were very open about me being adopted. They told me very early. And so I always wondered those things as well as a kid. So I totally understood this boy when I read the first draft of the script that I got, and was like, yeah, I gotta make this movie. I really gotta tell this story because I can totally relate on a personal note. So those two things and a lot of other things, again, a lot of wonderful people that I worked with and great experiences made that one, maybe just a little bit more special than the others, but they're all special.
Well, that's good, and I can understand what you're going through. Because it's just as orphans, because my mom was actually adopted, and she always
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
questioned had those same kind of questions, and my heart goes to all the kids who are being adopted, because they always like have always on their mind, why was I given up? Was I
Yeah,
loved by my own actual parents? Did they really care about me, or they just didn't want a kid, or all that? And honestly, it's just that could be really nerve wracking for a child that of an age without knowing what kind of person their parents were. And my heart goes out
absolutely.
to all the kids out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It, you know, it can be very, like you said, it can be very emotional and it can provide some struggles to some kids. I was very lucky that I got adopted into a really wonderful, loving, supportive family. And so, um, I had that stability in my life. So very fortunate for that.
Well, that's good, honestly. And since you told us that that you are no longer with Disney, do you have any plans or things that you want to do for your future?
Mm. I love to continue directing. I love being a director. I did do a live action short film last year that I wrote and directed. Just totally independent. It's on my own, but something I really wanted to do to kind of challenge me and help me grow. So I'm continuing to look for that kind of work. But in the meantime, been doing storyboards, which I enjoy doing. Pardon me.
It's alright.
Storyboarded on the Garfield movie that just came out yesterday on Friday. And then currently doing storyboards on a show for Disney Junior called Ariel, about Ariel, the Little Mermaid. So I'm doing storyboards on that show, which is really fun. And yeah, just enjoying that and continuing to look for more directing opportunities.
Well, that is awesome, and Steve, and I can't wait to watch Garfield and tell you my output on the movie and tell you what I think of it. And I'm pretty sure I'm probably going to love it because I love Garfield. I grew up with it on the cartoons, and I grew up with
Mhm.
the live action Bill Murray one. Even though not a lot of people like it, but I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I hope you like it. I hope you enjoy it. I think it's a fun, silly cartoon with lots of heart. And
Oh,
I think that's a good
I
thing.
bet you. And I love Chris Pratt. I love his acting abilities, and I love how he's trying his best to branch out in different movies instead of
Yeah.
focusing on Marvel.
hmm
And
Yeah, I think he really brings a lot to the role of Garfield. He's really got a lot of warmth to his voice, but still is able to carry off the sassy side of Garfield.
yeah, yeah. Hey, but we all have like different there's multiple dimensions of Spider-Man. Like there's multiple dimensions of Garfield. Like
That's
sometimes
right.
Garfield could be sassy, sometimes he could just be just rude, and sometimes he could be just caring. It gives
Absolutely.
different aspects. So, if you don't mind me asking, for a future animation person who wants to get into animation, what kind of advice would you like to give them?
Hmm. Well, this is maybe more of a kind of an abstract uh, piece of advice, but um, I say whenever people ask me that question, I always say get used to collaboration. Sometimes as artists, it's very easy to just sit at your desk or at your computer screen or whatever you work on and kind of be in your own little world and create your stuff. Um, but And that's good. That's totally great. That happens in animation as well. We sit at our desks and we do our work. But for animation, you have to be able to then bring your work into a room of other people, and with who's also bringing their work into the room, and collaborate with them and bounce ideas off of them. And you have to be able to take notes on your work, as well as to be able to give constructive feedback on other people's work. So being an individual artist is really important to develop those skills. But then for to work in animation, you have to be able to then work with other people. And some artists are more successful at that than others. So, and it might sound obvious, but I think some people feel like that's not part of the game, that it's mostly just about their drawings or their whatever their work is, and then that's the end of their contribution to the film or to the TV show or whatever it might be. But there's a whole other step to it, which is that collaboration. So get used to collaboration, get used to showing your work and getting feedback from other people, get used to giving feedback to other people's work, again, in a very constructive way. And take pleasure in that, because actually great things can happen when you all work together. So that would be my advice.
That sounds wonderful, Steve, and I agree. Because and sometimes we got accept that people's your artwork will not always be accepted, but we also got accept that there's gonna be criticism. But
hmm
just we don't want people to criticize the things that we spend here hours or days or how long it takes us the draw that come on that that drawing, but we just got take it from a grain a pinch of salt, and just accept from the good and the bad and the ugly of criticism or approve what's the word um com- um recognition. Thank you.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And again, that it also means that the people that are giving the feedback have to be able to do it in a constructive way, in a positive way. So that's again another part of another good thing to get used to is not just coming into somebody, looking at somebody's work and saying, I don't like it. I think it's stupid. I wouldn't do it that way. You did it wrong, whatever. That's not really helpful. That doesn't help build something together. So that's the other part of it is accepting feedback, but also learning how to give constructive, positive feedback to other people that can support and encourage people for the next step.
Absolutely, and I agree 100%. So, Steve, I want to say from all of us that we are so grateful for the movies that you made from um, Meet the Robinsons, Wreck-It Ralph, from Frozen, from Winnie the Pooh, and from um just all these different movies that you've done. We want to say, well, all of us, thank you very much for making our childhoods awesome with your amazing drawings, and we want to thank you for that.
Thanks, Ian. I appreciate it. I'm, like I said, I'm so proud of getting to be a part of those movies, and it means so much to hear that people enjoy them. So thanks very much for that.
Absolutely, and like in the you chose in the quote of Meet the Robertsons, it that quote is such a beautiful quote. Keep moving forward, and it's just we always need to hear that quote to remind ourselves that just because something happens in the past doesn't mean you should let it affect your future.
That's right. Sometimes it's hard to, take that quote into and to make it part of us because sometimes we get really discouraged and it's hard to move forward. But I think it's good to always have that in the back of our minds, just that those little words keep moving forward, just to know to persevere and that it's going to get better.
Absolutely, and well, everyone, you heard from Stephen J. Anderson. And I want to say thank you for watching this video from Bubble Bear broadcasts and movies and skits. This is signing off, and thank you for having you be here, Steve. And you have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ian. Thanks, everybody.